that.
Okay.
It should be, you get under old business.
What's that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
I think A will be the,
Right here.
what's that? Yeah, but I reached out, I didn't hear back, and then technically, she has to take the oath. But I left a voicemail, so I didn't get a hold of her. And I don't get the information until the council meeting. Unless, are you Kathleen? Yeah. Oh, okay, welcome. We're just talking about you. No.
You're finally on. You're finally in with us, huh? Almost.
Is it up here? Oh, she hasn't been sworn, right?
She hasn't been sworn in.
Here's my old neighbor. Okay. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order and pledge of allegiance.
Yes.
Pledge allegiance to the
The
flag.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call. Kate Smith is absent. Dennis Kaplinski.
Here.
Sharon Parkla. Here. John Jones. He is absent. Robert Smith.
Excuse.
Here.
Absent and excused for John and Kate. Robert Smith is here.
Yes.
Jennifer McConnell here. And Bridget King. Here. Okay, we are all available. Approval of agenda. I have approval of minutes from September 24th. Can I get a motion to approve?
Well, really, on the agenda, we are going to take out the presentation.
Oh,
Joe had
yes.
contacted me, he's not going to be able to do it tonight, so hopefully next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Have to make a motion to take that out.
And do I have approval of the minutes from September 24th?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda without the presentation by Joe.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
Moss and Bridge, okay. All right, no presentations, public hearing. We have no public hearing tonight, so we're good. Public comment.
Did we approve the minutes?
No, we haven't yet.
Let's go back and approve the minutes too, just because I'm recording.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
You did the agenda.
Oh, sorry. You're gonna have to bear with me.
You're moving
tonight.
fast, I like it.
You're gonna have to bear with me
Approval of the
tonight.
minutes.
I just came from a
I
meeting
know.
in the car, so.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 24th, 2024.
All right,
And I'll second it.
thank you. All right, public hearing, number 7. Do we have any? And do we want to do, we're doing the public comment at this time, or we're going to discuss moving that?
Yeah,
For
it's still
moving
technically
forward.
here, but we've also been trying it, so in the old business, we can,
Okay.
you can decide.
So we'll take public comment if anyone has any public comment tonight. This is agenda items only, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that part. So hearing none, we'll move forward to items of consideration for old business. And this is where we'll make that motion to move the public comment period. And,
I'll make a motion to move the public comment.
okay.
I'll second it.
So from before the business item, where it is now, and number 8, to after each action item after discussion, just to be clear, to mimic sort of what the city council's doing. Okay.
All right. So we have park volunteer events, discussion for Rotary and Florence Park volunteer events, plans for 2025.
All right, well, in your packet, I put the highlight page. Most of you were there, or one of them. It was really wonderful to see so many volunteers at each event. And I can't wait for next spring and summer, so I sent in a follow-up email a tentative plan for the spring. I don't know if anyone had any thoughts on that. Let me
I think
pull
it's a
up
great idea. A wonderful idea. Want to do spring.
So many
Molar.
papers, I can't even find mine.
So we have early April for Moeller.
Yes,
We've got May for City Park.
art litter pickup.
We've got Manor Park as well in there. Playground, wood chips. Looks like the wood chips are pretty much in all of these items except for City Park.
Yeah.
This looks good for spring, summer. Early June, we've got Florence Park, more wood chips put in before school is out for summer, and Kiwanis. Fall, we've got Arcola, Helen, and Rotary. Looks like a good plan.
And we can set the dates, first part of the year,
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah. So the idea was, well, the goal is to get all the playground surfaces compliant. That's a big issue. And then there's a lot of beautification, supplemental maintenance that we can do that we saw that was being done. And really, I would love to get to where we've developed a work plan for each park that's short-term goals and then long-term. And some of these, were identified because we know GCYAA has a big event in mid-April in at Moeller Park, so we'd like to, depending on the spring weather, refresh the wood chips, do some work there. And then, of course, our soccer partners at Manor are really busy, so just trying to time it with the seasons. I think Kiwanis Park has a lot of work to do in the play area, and we would certainly reach out to our Kiwanis group and work with them on a date and, what other work ideas they have. So that's kind of the plan.
Yeah, it was nice to see the Rotary people came to the park.
Yeah.
There was a lot at Florence Park as well.
Yeah, and I put Florence back on here because we just need more wood chips. And the school was really good in the turnout they got, and I know they were willing to come back. So I think before school lets out, and we might have a bigger load that's going to be further away, because that was the challenge we had, was the big truck couldn't get up on, they wouldn't drive it up on the grass. So DPW had to go and pick them up with like a 1-ton truck, and it's just not enough. So if they come, they're going to bring a big amount, and they're going to drop it on the street. So we'll try to get some of it moved up, but if we get a great turnout, then it's possible. But it's a really big distance for people to wheelbarrow,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, from the street too, yeah.
So that one's harder just because of the logistics of it.
But we got it done at Rotary.
But we got it done at Rotary. I mean, Rotary, I was so impressed, so I thought, we could do anything. And if we do it early enough, if for some reason we don't get it the first try, we just do another event and try to get it cleaned up and finished, so that's the plan.
I like the progress that we're making with these parks and the turnout with both parks, with, the volunteers. I mean, you don't see that too often where you have that many volunteers, and it was pretty cool. So I'm excited to see what's to come too, so. So, okay, let's see, new business. We have our Parks Department quarterly budget report.
All right, so some of this should look familiar. As we've been reviewing the budget in the last couple meetings, this is what is called a quarterly report. So it's a great time of year. We're 1/4 of the year through, and when you run a report, this report runs through September. So it's not to date. And just to go over the columns, we have the amended budget, so that's the budget year that we're in. That's the full amount for the full year. Then the next column is the year-to-date balance, so that's showing where we are currently. The next column is an activity just for the month of September. And then the next column over is the available balance. And then that last column is the percentage of the budget used. So when I run this report, what I'm looking for is to see, are we roughly at the 25% mark? That would be on pace. But in parks and probably other departments, sometimes the spending is heavier in the spring, or the revenue doesn't come until the spring, or it's heavy in the fall. So it's not always a problem, but what it does is allow me and all of you to take a look and see where are we. And especially because all of the numbers changed, it's really difficult because there's nothing to compare it to last year. Like usually you would say, okay, is this normal for this year? You look at last year's budget. With the numbers changing, it's a little more complicated. And for me, this is a learning year to really get a grasp of some of our costs and understand the operating, especially Radcliffe, because it's still new. And we don't have a lot to work from, in previous years. So what I did was go through and pulled out a couple of the areas that were either off, the first revenue, we don't have anything in our softball leagues. That's because we didn't have a fall league. There are plans for a spring league, which is typically the bigger league, so we should see some revenue. We might not see the full amount in there. Let's see, but overall, the revenue page looks pretty good. We're probably right where we need to be with most of those, especially in, let me see, make sure I'm in the right thing. Yeah, we're about 20% of revenue at Radcliffe, and 14 in the Civic Arena. But again, the ice rink just opened in September. Really, nobody's paying until the month after, so none of those are alarming. In the expenditures, there were some things that caught my eye that I mentioned in the report. The salary and wages was really off, and when you dive into it, what I saw, and we're working on correcting, is a lot of the full-time staff were and we're only at 5% expended. I knew that's not right. So there were, I think, 3 full-time people coming out of the part-time wages. So we can go back and correct it. It's just a bit of a process. And right now with the finance is, we're still without our director, and the staff that are helping are pretty deep into audit right now. So I meet with them, or I try to meet with them once a week. And just today, we worked on getting these corrected. So I think by the time you see the midway point, all that money will be transferred into the proper account, and it's corrected moving forward. So that's the key thing, is to get it corrected. Same, there's some things I'm looking at, like the retiree numbers. Again, big amounts budgeted. It's not pulling out. That one we're still looking at, and again, it's kind of a monitoring situation because it's not quite clear. I just haven't been able to get into that to really see. But really, do you all have questions? Have you looked at it? Is there anything that you want to ask about?
I just like the fact that you have in here the budget, the percentage of the budget that has been used so far.
Yeah.
That helps a lot
Yeah.
for us to look at it really quick.
Yeah.
This is something that we haven't really seen.
Yeah, we
So-
haven't had that.
Yeah, it's really useful to gauge your, spending, and then understanding the rhythms of the department.
Yeah.
So this is just something I'll bring every quarter, and we can look at, and I think it gets more familiar. And like I said, as because there's another thing you'll see, there's the Maplewood still has their electric and gas, and so there's some things that are still askew, and it'll just take time to get it cleaned up, and there's still some work I want to do with staff to outline some different areas, like with programming, so we can really see operating versus programming costs, because right now they're kind of lumped together. So what it costs to run the building also includes some of the programming, which then has revenue tied to it. So it's just not always the easiest to look at. But overall, everything's looking pretty good. Nothing super alarming other than some cleanup work. But if you have a question, I'm happy to investigate or get back to you.
You're doing a fine job with this, I just have to say. Fine job.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to review and feedback of proposed rebranding options, and that is in our packet.
Yeah, so we talked before, we really only have 2 ideas we're working with, and one of our staff just did some mock-ups to help give a visual. And again, this is really thinking about the opportunity we have now to rename our program. or not a program, our facility, as we're looking, you know, to get signage and wayfinding and just branding across the facility.
And this is for Radcliffe?
This is for Radcliffe.
Okay, specific. Okay.
So the Cliff is one that I think comes, well, you know where that comes from, which people liked. And then the REC, which has the acronym, the Recreation, Enrichment, and Community, you know, which is a nice thing. I think the Cliff is probably too long for an acronym.
Well, and if you just look at it, it doesn't make sense unless you know.
I couldn't figure it out at first. I'm like, wait, did they discuss?
They don't even go.
Yeah, I think if we were a big rock climbing facility,
Right, it would be different. Yeah.
but we're still open to other suggestions. But my thought was to give a visual with this, sort of feel out, you know, if people are interested in this. I mean, if people are like, no, we love Radcliffe, we can do that too. But I think it's a good opportunity to reflect on this and explore. You know,
I really like that wreck. I like the wreck.
You like it?
I do too.
Do you have,
I
yeah,
like this one.
the top one?
This is my favorite.
Well, I like it, but I would like to see the circle that's
You like the circle?
like a lot of the city logos.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like this
Oh.
light blue behind it a little bit.
Okay.
Could you do that with like the tree and the little sun thing? What if you move,
Like the circles in here.
put it right here?
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah. Oh, I see, with the
Move
cliff.
circle
Yeah,
at the
Yeah.
bottom.
yeah.
Put it up at the
Do you
top.
guys, what do you guys like down there?
I like the same one.
This one?
And with the, you can move this circle.
Up here?
Yeah, and
here,
then put
and
it
it
in
would be-
centered, and I think it would look,
Yeah,
it would look
it'd be
sharp.
perfect.
So explain it to me. What do you, show me?
This,
Yeah.
and this,
But take that,
Kinda
the
gray circle,
light blue
move it up.
circle.
To try to play, okay.
yeah.
Sharon, what do you like?
Yeah, and this has not gone through any official branding. We would still need to go through communication.
Look at the cliff one.
So you like the
A
first
lot
one?
of
The
times,
council have to
if you see the
approve it.
city's logos, they'll
Yeah,
be like.
probably, if we're adding,
So you like this one?
That's why I.
No,
and if you remember, the thought was also to put it out to the
yeah.
community and
like
see
this
if
one,
they,
same one I like.
you know, wanted to vote on it. I don't know, we don't have quite a lot of options. I mean, we could do a write-in, a suggestion, if people have a great idea.
Right,
We're open
right.
to it, but we don't want to do the Bodie McBoatface, if you all have heard of that. When you put it out to the public to name something, you really need to be like, if that's what they pick, then is that what you go? And
You
that
have
was
to be
like-
good with that.
Yeah, there's a.
That's it.
But I just thought to get your feedback and thoughts.
I like it.
And obviously, this logo is really playing off the existing parks and city
Right,
logos,
right.
staying in the color scheme.
Yeah.
And so, okay.
All right, we'll move on to discussion and feedback regarding nonprofit rentals in parks in Radcliffe.
Yes. Okay, so I did send some background on that. So there's a memo, like a draft memo, that's sort of, you know, giving the backdrop, right? Providing community space is an important part of what Parks and Rec always does, right? Whether it's for residents or community groups and nonprofits. So from the parks to the community center, that's always a part of the services that we offer. And as we see, there's many gatherings, events, you know, fundraising, all sorts of activities that sports groups are doing, community groups are doing, you know, all sorts of groups that are nonprofit. And currently, we don't have any published format for nonprofits that want to use space. All we have is the regular stuff. So there also are times when there are free uses given, but it's a bit inconsistent and it's a bit challenging for staff when we don't really know, you know, what this is. So we wanted to look at this and, you know, develop some guidelines for offering affordable, you know, but high-quality spaces, and really thinking about nonprofits. So while the revenue generated from pavilion rentals and spaces at Radcliffe do help to offset maintenance and operating costs, the purpose in setting fees and establishing guidelines is really to find the right balance between that fiscal responsibility to do it all.
Right.
And we want, if anything, we want more groups in and using the spaces. So we did some research, looked around, how are the other communities managing their rental spaces? So we've got some information from Canton, Livonia, Troy, Saline, Meridian Township, Lansing, Ann Arbor, Washtenaw County. And it's really fascinating because everybody's a little bit different. I included one page that just gave some notes. There's the 50% discounts across the board in Canton. Livonia has a 5-category chart that is really complex based on like what type of nonprofit, and some of it's almost too much. So, after reviewing all of that, talking with staff, I felt a little stuck because I'm like, I'm not really sure either, and I wanted to bring it here and have some discussions, get some thoughts from you all. Right now, we're proposing the free space at Radcliffe that is currently not finished or furnished. The idea is that would be always free to our nonprofit groups. We still need to clarify, well, who are nonprofit groups? How often can they use it? But the idea is that room would be reserved specifically for nonprofits, and it would be set up in a way that could be somewhat versatile to accommodate a meeting, but maybe it's also, round tables, and it's, 35 or 40 people in there. So that's a possibility, to have that room just free all the time. And then, we're proposing 50% discount. So for any group that wants to, rent the space to get a 50% discount. And again, we haven't defined those groups. There's some groups that, maybe are rated different because what they do, they're raising directly benefits the community, or maybe they directly benefit Parks and Recreation. And so when I'm thinking of our sports groups, which are really an extension of Parks and Rec, are there exemptions for them? So those are some of the possibilities. We do want to keep the free space and the discounted space during regular operating hours, just because those are already staffed and that cost is already fixed, more or less. And if you get into the weekends, then we at least need to cover the staffing costs for any after-hour stuff. So I don't know if anybody has thoughts, or if you're thinking of groups and how this would impact them, or just any feedback I'm interested in.
Since Radcliffe is a monetary, basis and not for profit, but it's an actual business, is it possible to take these 501c3s and into account for a tax write-off within the city's, finances and accounting? Because at that point, if you're using that, and if they have a nonprofit, that could be a deductible for the city, is a potential offset in free space. It could be an idea to maybe look into.
Okay, so you're saying like the fees that we're waiving, to use that in some sort of tax rate?
Right.
Yeah, I would have to check with finance, because I don't even know, I'm not even familiar with that, but that's a really good idea.
Your business, you're giving something away for free to a nonprofit in return for a tax write-off. I mean, I'm just thinking of in the business sense of
Yeah.
how to.
Except we are a nonprofit, we're just not a 501c3.
Okay.
Right.
So I don't know if that, I've never heard that, but I can certainly investigate that, because no one's ever brought that up.
I like to think outside the box, so I was just thinking, maybe that could work.
Right.
So,
Oh, go ahead. By looking at this, not applicable for the gymnasium, does that mean?
Which one? Oh, that's what you're looking at there, that's from, that's from Lansing, so that's not ours.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's what they charge.
So-
That's theirs, yeah, this is just
I
the
assume they
example.
don't charge anything for the gym, or do they don't?
I don't think there's a discount for
Okay.
nonprofits for those spaces.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was just an illustration of how they did it. So some rooms, and that was something too that staff had floated, like, well, the biggest, like the auditorium and our specialty rooms, auditorium and spaceport, potentially would maybe not be eligible for the discount, or they would have to go through like a process of exemption. So whether it's a special request to council, or the city manager has certain rights. So that would always be open. If it's like a special event or something, like that would be an avenue for a group to go through. But, you know, what's hard is as we're getting busier, the auditorium is our busiest space. And we do, you know, as you see in the budget, like revenue is an important part of the operating because it helps offset things. But, you know, as I said, we never want to get so hyper-focused on revenue and sacrifice these other things. So it's just a really delicate balance.
What is the rental rate on the gym? Do you guys have that determined, or?
I believe it's $100 an hour. And of course, I didn't bring.
That's okay. And then what about the meeting rooms, the cost?
They range, so I think the cheapest is $60 an hour.
What would this be, this room here that you're talking about, the community room? Is
We
that
don't have
determined
a
yet?
published rate for that
Okay.
because it would be purely reserved for communities.
Okay, got it, okay. I guess my comment would be in regards to the free space for nonprofits, like you said, given kind of like a tiered system as to what they are providing for the community. I do like that, you know, just for the fact that you can bring people in, and I know like baseball and you know, football and soccer and all of the sports have, and even hockey have these days where they want to do in-person registration.
Yeah.
And it would benefit the kids in the community and the parents to be able to have one place and one location to go to. So I do like that. That could be, you know, potential use because Garden City is a lower cost, you know, affiliation within their youth sports to keep that lower for the parents.
Yeah.
So it's hard for those, you know, organizations to, you know, try to raise their fees to cover the cost to have a rental space. So I'm for that. I do agree that it is a business as well, and you need to make revenue off of, you know, certain areas, like the gym being one. And areas like that, I believe, could potentially do some type of a 50% discount, like you said, or even, you know, maybe a little bit more. But I think for the meeting space, the community room, if it's possible and it works for, you know, on a revenue basis, but also serving the community, I think I'm leaning more towards the free space, so, in that sense. But again, gym and other areas, spaceport and the movie room, things like that, maybe, you know, some type of a discount at that point, so.
Okay, so you're kind of thinking one, not necessarily both, or?
So I would say for the community room, free space, for the nonprofits, but then for like the gym, those areas,
Okay.
either full price or discount
Okay.
of 50%.
Yeah, okay.
So that's my 2 cents.
I do just want to add, you brought up something that I did want to mention, like the youth sports particularly are the one groups that directly are paying for repairs to the parks and actually are putting their money right back in. So whether it's new goals or, and I think that, you know, for us as the Parks and Rec Department is really important, and we want to recognize that, because if those associations were to go away, I mean, I think it would be horrible for the community because they're just so valuable. So I think what you said, we definitely want to support their operations and keep the costs low and be partners.
And now that you're saying that, to add to that, then if you guys decide, and maybe, you know, you guys can think about this too, is if they are putting money back in, I do know that they always need gym space, they need indoor usage, and if it's something that would benefit them and help them out, then maybe potentially giving them the gym for a free space. Again, I know that's a lot to ask, and maybe it's on a limited basis, but that could definitely help them.
And also, one thing that we currently do, I don't think I mentioned, but if a group is charging, so sometimes there's a nonprofit, but they're still charging, and typically then we, that's like a regular rental, because it's like
Like
part of their
regular.
operation and their cost.
Right. Anyone else have any discussion on that one?
Yeah, anybody else got any?
No. So it's $100 though to rent the gym?
An hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be for a league or something. It would have to be, right? Say for a team, a 5-man team or something.
Yeah, and I mean, primarily the gym, now we have, there's a cheer group that comes in and they pay for the space and they're charging. Then there's, some different renters, like the T-Lab does weekend rentals that are separate from the building rental. And they set up, more workspaces and those things. And so there's a decent amount of revenue that comes from those hourly rates that add up, Like last year, it was about 18,000, and we're a little ahead of that pace already. But it's,
All right, we will move on to D, discussion and feedback on age restrictions in room designations at Radcliffe.
yes, okay. So this is another area, I know we've gotten different feedback and questions about age. There's a lot of rooms that I think when they were designed were, this is for this age and this is for this age. And I think we're revisiting some of these policies. The goal is really to, draw as many people in the community as possible into the spaces. So we're looking at, and we're, different feedback that we've gotten. So sometimes there's some concern about like adults being in with the kids in spaceport. And then there's also the idea of, well, what if we open it up to all ages? But if you're under 8, you have to be with a parent. But we also want, we want to make sure the parents know whatever it is we're doing so that they understand there's going to be anybody in here. And our role of the staff is really not to supervise the kids, but to monitor the technology, because that's the really challenging part of that room, is that technology. So, we're still trying to figure it all out. We're thinking of doing a survey and asking, the current families and individuals using it, how they feel about opening it up. We're also seeing it get a lot busier, and the schools are now bringing the kids over. The middle schools had an esports club that started last week, and they had 46 kids that they brought over. And it was like too much, because there was 20 in esports, and then there was 26 on top of another 20. So it was almost capacity for us. So we're just trying to figure out what our capacity really is, and how to offer it to as many people as possible. So I know we've talked a little bit in this group about both the age limit in the senior fitness room too. So I just thought I would open it up to get, again, some input from you all before we do surveys. We're not planning to do anything just yet, but possibly in January, we could roll out some new things if that's the direction that we go.
I don't know if
I
I
like the idea about if kids come in, they have to be accompanied by their parents at a certain age.
Yeah.
An eye on it.
That was a
Yeah.
suggestion I got from a
Yeah, and that's one
13-year-old.
of the reasons in the summer we didn't have it open in the daytime, because we also run camp. And if we just have the spaceport open for ages 8 and up, then kids could just be dropped off, and we're just not equipped for that. And that's not what it's meant to be. So we have to, figure these things out.
I would think it should be even a little bit higher than 8, like parents.
Well, everyone, the membership, yeah. So that you do have to have the waiver, a membership. I mean, I think what we've seen is some of the dance families will have a younger kid, one in dance, and maybe they want to go in there for a little while. And currently, they can't. So should we open it up to them? Or should, you be able to come with your grandkids and go in there? Or do you need to be, the way it is right now after school is teens only. I think it's like 3 to 5. Is that right? 3 to 5 is teens, and then it's family hours, 5 to 8, or it might be 6 to 8. So that's what we're doing right now.
Does it seem to be working well, or you're saying that it's not, you're not getting
We
it?
think it's going okay. I mean, we are getting some questions. So when we're questioned, then we look at, okay, well, let's see, sometimes it's hard to know, is it just one person that's feeling this way? And I always like to know a little bit more, like, what are the majority of people thinking about this right now before we just do this and do this, because we've tried a few different things in the short time I've been here. We had something over summer, and then we revised it for school.
Is it 8, is the youngest age in there?
Yeah,
Because there's one little boy who's 7, but he's a very well-behaved child.
Yeah.
He loves to play, and he hangs out with all these older kids, so he has gotten in there. But
okay.
then there's some 8. A parent was with them, but apparently they were crying, making a lot of noise through the whole time they were in there. So I'm suggestion that they should have a parent at a certain age, maybe it has to be 9, or maybe, you know, at least 8.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think originally it was envisioned as the teen, we heard teen tech, but then when it opened, it was 8 years old, which is pretty young. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you're not
Those
a
kids
teen,
know
you're
a
not a tween, really. But it's hard to roll that back now that people have been in there. And then, we're like, we don't need to be strict. I mean, it's not my goal to make it strict, but we want, and then we also don't want to see all the kids just doing that and not in the floor hockey and the dodgeball, which is what we saw a little bit this fall, but we don't know if that's just kind of the ebb and flow of those programs. But we don't want, the video games to replace all of the recreation activities for the younger kids, So all of those thoughts are.
All right, other business, anything to add to that? Nothing? No other business, all right. Public comment, and this is the general non-agenda items. If anyone has any comments, public comments? Anyone? You're limited to 3 minutes.
But I walk the dog all the time at City Park. And for some reason, I have asked DPS several times, can you please not put away, and they take all the barrels away for disposing of, pets.
Dog waste, yeah.
In the fall, they're all gone. Or they might just have 2 out on that entire path. And it really, you'll start to see people just leave the
Yes,
dog waste.
yes.
And it would be so nice if they can at least leave a barrel every,
And is it like that just this, you just walked today, or?
yes, I noticed it last week, I'm like, oh, I should have took the barrels away because it's fall.
Well, what happened, because I did get a call on this, they were removed for the egg hunt, but they're supposed to go back out.
Oh.
So, because I was told that they do leave them around the track, but maybe not, or
They only leave like,
maybe
there's
fewer.
maybe one near the park entrance off of Cherry Hill.
Okay,
And maybe one near that other dog waste disposal over there by
Okay.
the post office and the Bearman entrance. And maybe one other one. I mean, for a mile path, it
Yeah.
needs
You need a little more.
they're requesting to come up to the mic.
Oh, sorry.
They could put one at every
Do you want me
turn.
to start over?
No, I think that's okay, but,
yeah. If they could just leave out a few extra
Okay.
barrels for the winter, 'cause-
Okay.
and then they don't empty them. They'll, it'll fill all the
Fill
way
up,
up to the
yeah.
top,
Yeah.
and it's like, who's gonna lift that, right?
Yeah.
So, that's just a little,
yeah, thank you. I know there's a like our park staff are no longer at that time, but we should be doing some collection. I mean, we are doing it, so I'll look into that and I can get back to you on what
yeah,
our
I've
normal
asked,
is.
it's deep, because I understand DPS kind of takes care of the disposal.
Over winter, yeah.
And so that I've asked several years, and it's the same thing happens every year. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, we'll put out another can, but it never seems to happen. So,
Okay.
yeah, thanks.
Anyone else? No? Good? Catherine?
Comments on the agenda items. This is why the agenda needs to be moved.
Yes.
After you guys discussed it, you had comments.
On which one? Oh, on this one or the other ones?
I said on your agenda items, once they were discussed, now I have some comments.
Oh,
But I didn't have them until you guys discussed it.
I think because we don't have an action item.
Yes,
But if you want to make comments,
feel free.
please do.
Please do.
Yeah, we're not that strict, and I think we're still trying to figure out, because we don't have that many, we don't have action items, so that's why we didn't do the public comments.
Right.
But maybe we should just have public comments after we discuss.
Okay. Anyway, I had a question. So when you were talking about creating the nonprofit policy, a tiered system was suggested for groups that give back to Garden City. And the question comes up that because of the grant money that came in and we're required to accept all of the communities at Radcliffe, would we be able to do that under the grant, the specifics of the grant?
You mean having certain nonprofit, well, so when I got this clarified, the grant requires us to provide our services to the entire county.
Right.
It doesn't mean that everyone pays the same. So we can charge non-residents more because residents are paying operating costs and other things for the operation.
Okay.
So we could still offer things free for residents that are not free. So that wouldn't be an issue at all.
Okay. Did not know that. We were told that it was across the board to everybody, so that's good to know. The other thing, the teen tech room, I think it's kind of a misnomer. It's like a guy's room. I mean, at the risk of sounding sexist, the guys like to play those games a little bit more than the girls do, and you'll see guys in there all the way up through their 40s. And I think you really need to consider that for the dads maybe that bring the kids to the dance classes and stuff while the kids are in dance. They want to go down there and play in the room. So I would like to see that. And lastly, when we're talking about, back to the nonprofit policy, I just wanted to throw out there, like, so when the Kiwanis holds their pig race, we used to do it at St. Raphael's, and then when Radcliffe became available, we decided to move there. It was fantastic for us. We do charge. It's a fundraiser. Of course, we're going to charge for it.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, we're in that room for about 12 hours. So if there's no discount or anything else, you're talking $1,200 to Kiwanis. And that's just crazy, and I don't see us paying that. We would go back to St. Raphael's, St. Thomas, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So I think you really, really need to look at that and include the auditorium somehow, maybe if it's once a year for the different organization, however, but definitely would have to be looked at.
Yeah, and I think that's where those exceptions or unique, I think events would probably work in, right? Because that is quite unique and.
Well, yeah, that is, and, it's a once-a-year thing, but I
Yeah.
did want to mention that, I mean, I could see it possibly happening with other organizations at some point, but,
Yeah,
okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
thanks.
All right, report from Parks and Rec Director.
Oh, okay. Let's see, just some updates. Okay, I did include some September numbers, so I think last month that we talked about, we're trying to find just different ways to report on numbers, and I think this one for us is something I'm curious in. What are our participation numbers, registration for the different areas? So this was part of a report that goes to City Council, so I like to share it with you all. You can see in September just the different things going on in numbers, so if you have any questions on that. Then there's a little bit of membership information in case you're curious, well, how many memberships are there? Some breakdowns of that. The center admittance scans is something we're trying to sort through because we have memberships for the fitness room and for Spaceport, but then everybody else is typically registering for a class. But we've been trying to get everybody to scan, and we're evaluating what are we trying to do, and sometimes it creates a bit of a bottleneck at the front, and we miss people, and it's not the most accurate. And so we're just really looking at what are we trying to do with our data? Like, what data are we actually getting, and what are we doing with it? And, you know, really just thinking about customer service for people coming in. Do they need to scan in if they've already paid and registered for a class, or, you know, so just to look at those numbers, the spaceport numbers, the room rentals for September, some labor cost.
When they come in and scan, like what are they, what equipment's scanning them?
At the front desk, there's those scan readers.
Okay.
Where they just scan, but sometimes it'll ask, are you coming in to do spaceport? Are you coming in to do
Oh, so it has like
Senior
a question,
fitness.
a question?
something? Yeah, some people have multiple. I actually don't know what the multiple things would be, because there's really only true memberships, but I think it might be like a class, because I think we were trying to, you know, do attendance that way, but it's really not working because people are skipping it, or it gets backed up and then you scan it, and if you didn't select it, they're long gone, the next person's doing it, and, you know, just some
Is there a
execution.
way to set it up, like, because you think you want to scan because you want to know who's in your building.
Right.
But when they go to the actual spaceport or the gym, is there something where they can just scan it separately there so that you know that they're there for that particular
Yeah, I think that was the original plan, was to scan into the room you're going into, because that would be a better accurate count, and it would unlock the door. So at Spaceport, we have an attendant there. That's one's a lot easier. At the senior fitness room, from what I understand, we keep the door open because there's, oh, you're nodding, do you know all this?
Into it, and the door's open and there was nothing to scan, you know.
And if the door was closed, we could do the scan, but the feedback was, I think is it the temperature in there, or? Huh?
A little warm in there?
Yeah, I can't remember what there was a reason, like a smell or
I can
some
still
bizarre
see
thing.
leaving the door open, but just having where,
Oh, I know what it was.
Just handheld
Some people
or-
were concerned if they were to fall and they could yell and no one would hear them. So that was the concern for that.
makes
So, but I think that would be the ideal, as you scan when you go into that specific room.
So if these people are, the parents and kids and community members are registered members, is there a reason they even have to scan twice? I mean, if they're in the system, they're signed up for a class, they scan once, do they even need to scan again?
I mean, scan once, like when they come in, or just?
Once when they come in, and then just go to whatever class or room that they need, that they're going to that day? At least you know, like you said, you know who's in the building.
you want to know who's in the building for sure.
You
but-
don't, do you have to have a second scan into?
No, but we're having a problem with the first scan.
Oh,
People, like the dance classes in particular. So if you're coming in and there's a dad with a couple of kids, does he need to stop and scan everybody in? And
Oh. can't there just be one scan and one done, like just your whole family?
They're each individual
Like a
membership.
family.
But they're all like
Okay.
tied to people, so
Can there be like a family membership?
Right, right.
And can those kids be tied to the parent and then the parent scans so you don't have to scan all the kids?
But you wouldn't know how many came in. If he
I
came
mean,
in today with
we could do that. That's kind of what we're doing. Whoever does scan, scans.
Is there
But
just one scanner? Like, is it
yeah, so part of it's one scanner, and then if somebody's actually doing a transaction, that's when like these lines start happening, and it's like, okay, well,
I mean, I'm
you
just
know.
thinking like when I went to the gym, like you'd walk in, you'd scan it, and there's a couple of them there, and they would just see that people have scanned.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that like I have to observe every single person scan, but just,
Yeah.
but I would think that you would want each person to scan in the family, just so you know
Who's
who's in your
there.
building.
And how
I
many?
mean, that's what it was originally for, who's in the building.
Yeah.
The challenge we have is we don't always know who's in the building because Head Start has operations going on and a different access. T-Lab is also, you know, so we don't really have, you know, we have cameras and other sorts of, you know, security measures, I guess, but, so we're just evaluating all of that. I mean, I think the idea is, yeah, let's have everybody scan in so we know who's here, and that if you're here, we have your information, we have emergency contact, you know, all of those
There could
things.
even be a way to set up to where T-Lab has to have their own scan at their side of the building, you know what I mean? So you know, again, who's in your building, because,
And then all of the rentals like cheer groups, they just come in and they don't scan because they're through a different organization. So it's, you know, it's complicated.
Well, if you
Oh, I
had
know.
somebody coming in to take a class, they may not be a member, they just signed up for a class, so you wouldn't have them scanning.
Right, but we do currently, so what happens is if people sign up, this is what I saw, people were signing up online for something, registering, and then they would come in, and then we had to have them register to be a member. But they're like, I just did all these forms online, and then we're like having them do them again, because there's the activity registration and a waiver, and then there's the membership. But if you're in an activity, do you need the membership, is what you, I mean, that's just what you said, which is kind of what I'm wondering,
You're
but.
just coming in for cake decorating or this cricket class or something.
Right.
And you're coming from a different city, that this is probably the only time you'd use it.
Right,
Why would you
right,
have
and
to
how many things do we want to give out, and, you know, so all of those things we're looking at. And FRC, those individuals don't sign in and get memberships either. So we have a lot of people coming in, and the desk is like, well, these people we don't check, and these people don't, but then other people we do, you know, just, so we're just, you know, ironing these things out, trying to figure out what is most important, what are we trying to accomplish, you know.
How do other cities do it? Do you know like how Livonia Rec Center does theirs? I know it's like a,
That's a really good question. We should probably follow up and find out how, I mean, I think Livonia has a membership, so when you have like a full gym, it's a little different because everybody's coming into the gym membership. So you're a member, when you say member, it just means you have an account, we have your photo, you've done a membership thing, but you might not be in Spaceport and you might not be going to the senior fitness, so, you know.
is it possible to go that route of doing an all-encompass membership? And so you scan and you might have 3 kids with you, but you've signed a waiver that covers your entire family, so that you might not know, like you said, you might not know who else is in the building, but you might never know that, you know?
Yeah.
So at that point, does it make sense, and is it easier for staff if there's just one scan and you know, and it is hard. You want to know who's in your building, but again, like you said, with so many different entities, you're never going to know.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's hard to track. Like, hold on, I didn't record you yet, you know, but
Right.
if you have cameras, you see what's going on, and
Right.
someone has one membership, at least you're covering yourself, and a signed
Right.
waiver
Right.
that protects you guys in the city, so
Right.
that's a tough one, though.
And I think that's what we're, you know, looking at the numbers to see how many people are actually scanning in, because then we know if there's over 600 dancers coming in each week, I could tell you, we're not seeing them all scanned in,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
so, but, so these are the numbers. Any other comments or?
I like Jen's idea of a family scan, you know, one person, but you register your family. So now I come in, I scan, and then if my other members aren't coming, I will tell you, it's just me tonight. Or it's the whole family. It could be just one family scan. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think the execution is what I know they're going to say, well, what activity are you scanning in for? You have to select, and then if there's multiple kids, there's no way to do it. It's, you know, this is technology. It's
Right.
so capable of so many things, but then it's so specific and, you know. But we've got a great Sportsman as our data, or our system, and they're really good at training and troubleshooting. So I think as we start to realize, like, where are we struggling, I think we can troubleshoot and try to figure out better ways to do it. You know,
Troubleshoot.
maybe even, we were talking about to add another scanner, but maybe it's like a kiosk style, where if you're comfortable, you can come up and do that. You know, maybe if you're a senior and you're not feeling the kiosk, then you go to the desk, you know. We'll keep trying that.
Learning process. I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
So anyways, these are just some different numbers. If there's other things you want to see, let me know. We're just trying to find some numbers that are telling what's happening and, you know, what's being successful and all of that. A couple of updates on the grants. Since last meeting, we finally received $2,039,001 of reimbursement. Today is October 29th, and our big 70% deadline is the 31st. We are, when I talk to the county, there's some delays between when you spend and the invoicing process. So like right now, we've got invoices and a request that gets us to about just under 2.5, but we have over, let me see my notes, I think close to 500,000 committed funds, and so what we're doing, yeah, we have 478,000 of committed, meaning we've already got contracts for them, like the roof. So we're waiting, they have a big invoice they're gonna get to us like the second week in November. That's gonna get us over our 2.8. And our reimbursement paperwork is going to go on November 19th. So they said, just wait for that one, and then submit it all on November 19th. And so we will be closer to 2.9 at that time. And so that's all good. I will be doing a full update with what's left to spend, what are the priorities, and where the budgets, you know, are on December 9th to City Council. And we expect, you know, yeah, about $1 million left to go. The HUD grant, I'm still working on the application with a grant coordinator, but we are starting the HVAC spec work that's going on. And then the bathrooms also in process. The other highlight, which is really a low light, is the tree forestry grant that I was very excited about. We did not get. The DNR got over $6 million of requests, and they only had $3 million they're giving out. So we were asking for about $154,000. We can try again in the next round, and there's another version of the grant I think I'll try for to get some feedback from them on our application. But I was really bummed because that was going to help us do a tree inventory and really develop a plan for the parks in particular, to build up the tree canopy and do some pruning and all of those things that we just haven't done at City Park, you know, and replanting in some of those.
A couple of trees at City Park have ribbon around them. Are they going to be taken down?
I don't even know about that.
Or maybe somebody just put it up. put
I
them
think
up
so.
there.
I know
don't
what you're
know.
talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Like a
Yeah,
white-
usually yeah, I don't know what that is. I'm not aware.
I didn't go and look at what it was. I
And
just-
typically with trees, you know, you want to have an outreach plan in place because people don't love when you just come in and take trees down.
And
And
don't
I don't like that
replace.
either. They came and take a couple trees down at Radcliffe and I was like, not happy. So, you know, you have to really be sensitive, especially City Parks. That's so beautiful, those trees. So, but they do need pruning and some assessment. So we'll keep trying on that, but that was a bummer on that. Any other questions on grants?
Nope.
Nope. Then just updates on the Radcliffe projects. The roof is moving along. It's one section at a time. I brought a little map. They started, let's see, over here and have gone all the way around. So they've got these sections left. It's great. They're working hard. We do have some rain coming, but
Later this week.
Thursday.
yeah, so that's moving along. Imagination Station's moving along. The carpentry's being worked on. I know they're doing what's it called? The thing, maybe it's HVAC up there in the ceiling. I've got painting scheduled. If you've been over to Radcliffe, you've seen the front entranceway is blocked off, a lot of work happening. We're really excited. There's going to be some storage behind the desk, but the concession stand will relocate over there. And we're working on a plan review to get licensing to sell heated foods, so frozen to warmed up. So think like a frozen pizza or pretzels or a Hot Pocket or something like that. To expand the menu, but in order to do that, you have to do a whole lot of work to get licensed, and you got to have the 3 sinks and a hand sink and a mop sink and all kind of stuff. So The way that design is working out well, because if you remember, we bumped into the locker rooms. So there's a space where we're adding all of that, so.
So you put drywall up as you walk in the door to your left?
Yeah, that's just a temporary wall.
Oh, okay.
So that's just temporary, that will come down. But I know the staff, everyone's really excited to get the desk out of the hallway and just start settling into the front desk. So that one's moving along. Those restrooms, I've got some architects coming out this week and next week to develop proposals on at least 2 of the bathrooms, maybe 3. And then we'll have to go out to bid for construction on those. This is that CDBG grant, a lot of paperwork for that. The teaching kitchen, we had a really good meeting with a consultant to develop like the key things for our design, whether it's more teaching, whether it's set up for rentals of, like people want to rent the kitchen for commercial stuff. So we've got another meeting in November planned to develop that, next steps. And then there's the whole slew of miscellaneous rooms. We haven't done a whole lot on any of those yet, but they're all on the radar. And then the gym, auditorium, not quite a renovation, but some improvements there. Yeah, any questions on any of that? Okay, I'm going to stop talking. That was it.
I have upcoming events and programs, but those are just, if anyone has any questions in regards to those are kind of listed here for us.
Skate parties.
No one have anything? We can move on to commissioner comments. We'll start with you.
Yeah, only thing, I noticed there's no bags for dog waste, to piggyback on what she was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, they need some more bags there.
Are they is that at City Park? What parks have the doggy bags?
Park and
City Park,
Rotary.
yes.
Park in,
Rotary's actually been stocked a lot lately, but
Okay.
I keep complaining to the right person.
Okay,
So I'll complain more about, I haven't been to City Park lately. I've been walking more at Rotary, so.
okay. All right, well, I will look into that and see if we can
And it's,
get on that. I'm not exactly sure.
comment I have is I wanted to thank everybody who came to Rotary Park to help us put in the wood chips.
yeah.
We got it done in one day.
All right, Kate her question was, she was wondering if environmental study was done.
Yes, yes.
Say yes, okay, I'm going to tell her, yes, it was done, okay. I don't have anything tonight, so I'll pass it on to Bridge.
I don't have anything. I mean, I just want to thank everyone that came out to both the parks for the cleanups. They were both a huge success. We had lots of people and lots of help.
That's what I was gonna say too.
Yeah.
I was glad to see a
I was
lot of
at
people
both of
come out to
them.
Florence too.
Yeah.
Looking forward to the
Bushes got
spring.
trimmed.
Yeah. Anything
Oh,
else?
the next meeting is November 26th, and I mentioned to you all, I will be out that week. I have a little knee surgery going on. We
Just a
could.
little knee surgery?
It's just a little meniscus tear, it's fine. Doing it right around Thanksgiving, woo. Yeah, but you could obviously run it without me. Mike, I'm sure would be happy to cover. Or we could move it, because I am working on the state of the park presentations, that bond follow-up, so we could either keep it as is, move it before or after, and then as I was looking at December, our date is like December 31st, which we're not going to do that, and we're not going to do Christmas Eve either, so
Right.
we could either combine it, I don't know, I wanted to hear what you all thought.
Because we usually take Christmas,
Oh, you do, okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
so we
Okay.
could combine it the first part of December sometime, whenever you feel up to it.
yeah, I mean, we could do the December, is it 3rd or 4th, I don't know, let me see what.
You can make sure you look at the city calendar to make sure there's not other events.
Yeah, December 3rd, if you wanted, or, I don't know.
Yeah, if we can get December 3rd, that would work. All right.
Okay, and that was all I had.
All right, do I
Will we
have,
have to make a motion?
I make a motion?
Yeah,
Oh,
to
yeah,
change it.
someone-
Yeah.
Oh, what was that? We have
We're
to.
gonna make a
Make a
motion.
motion for that next meeting.
Oh, yes. I'll make a motion to move our November meeting to December 3rd.
Second.
And
Gotta get a
all in
second.
favor?
Aye. We gotta get somebody seconded first, and then we all in favor. Oh, she said.
She did,
oh,
she did.
Okay.
Okay.
You aren't used to it happening
All right.
down at that end.
It is, right,
All
exactly.
in favor? Aye. Okay, we're good. Next meeting is December 3rd. And do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Gotta make a motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. They can't hear you. All right, this
Where's my
meeting
band?
has been adjourned.
Where's my band? I got it, so I won't lose it. Put it.